Welcome to another exciting English-speaking lesson. Today we are going to discuss how verbs define the structure of English sentences and whether they truly need an object.
It's such a great place to focus because the verb really is the engine of the sentence.
Right.
For most of us, grammar started with that one simple rule, subject-verb-object. You know, the SVO model.
Oh, absolutely. SVO. It's comforting, it's predictable, and it works great.
Until it doesn't.
Exactly. That model is so foundational that we often forget it's less of a universal law and more of a common default setting.
That's a perfect way to put it, because the structural truth is that the verb is the architect. It holds the blueprint for the whole sentence.
So whether you need one object, two objects, or no objects at all.
It's not a stylistic choice. It's a grammatical necessity, and it's dictated entirely by the type of verb you're using. What is that verb designed to do?
Okay, so we're challenging the simplicity of SVO today. We're going to look at the three key jobs a verb can do. I think you called them verbs of transfer, containment, and linkage.
That's right. Let's unpack that. We should probably start where the action is transferred. So, transitive verbs.
These are the ones that perfectly fit that simple SVO model we all learned.
They are. Their defining characteristic is that the action must move from the subject to something else, an object.
So these verbs are sort of incomplete without a destination for the action.
Exactly. If I just say, Jeff kicked, your brain immediately asks,
Kicked what?
kicked what?
Yeah.
The action needs a receiver, and that receiver is our object.
Okay, so within this group, there are a couple of patterns. Let's start with the simple one.
Right. Monotransitive. It's just what it sounds like. Mono, one object.
The structure here is just subject plus verb plus object, the classic. So, for example, Jeff kicked the ball.
Perfect. In that sentence, the ball is a true direct object. The key insight is that relationship. The action of kicked is, transferred onto the ball.
The ball is being acted upon.
Yes. And if you remove it, the thought is incomplete. But it gets more interesting when the verb has to handle a double transfer.
The detransitive sentence. Two objects.
Right. The structure shifts. It becomes subject, verb, then an indirect object, and then a direct object.
Okay, so let's define those jobs. We still have the action receiver, the direct object, or DO. What's the indirect object, the IO?
The indirect object is the recipient, the person or thing that is affected by or benefits from the direct object. It almost always answers the question, to whom or for whom.
Let's test that. Let's use the example, Jeff gave Dan the cake.
Okay, so gave is our verb. What received the action of being given?
A cake, that's the direct object.
Exactly. Now, to whom was the cake given?
To Dan. So Dan is the recipient, the indirect object.
Perfect, and you can test this. If you remove Dan, the indirect object, what do you have?
Jeff gave the cake. It's still a complete sentence, a monotransitive one.
It works perfectly. The IO just adds that extra layer of information about the recipient.
Let's try one more. Max pitched Alice the baseball.
The action is pitched. The thing being pitched is.
The baseball. That's our DO.
And the recipient of the baseball is.
Alice, the IO.
Exactly. And notice the order. The verb dictates that order of recipients. You can't say, Max pitched the baseball, Alice. It just sounds wrong.
Okay, that covers verbs where the action has to land somewhere. But now we get to a huge structural shift. What about verbs where the action stays right where it started?
Intransitive verbs. This is a fundamental break from that SVO mindset.
Why is that?
Because with intransitive verbs, the action is fully self-contained. It is not. And it actually cannot be transferred to an object. The action begins and ends with the subject.
Which means, structurally, a complete sentence can be just subject plus verb.
Yes. She cried, he slept. That's it. Those are complete grammatically sound sentences.
This is where I think a lot of learners get confused because you almost never see them that short. There are usually other words that follow.
Of course. We almost always add modifiers to give context, to tell us how, where, or when the action happened. These are usually things like prepositional phrases.
And the key rule here, I'm guessing, is that those phrases are not objects.
They are not. They don't receive the action.
How do you test that?
You ask if that word could have the action performed on it. Let's take, she cried at home.
Okay.
If home were the object, she would be crying onto the home. That's absurd. At home is just the location. It's a phrase that modifies the verb. It's not receiving anything.
That makes sense. What about for time? Like, he slept after dinner.
Same test.
Yeah.
Is dinner receiving the action of sleeping?
Yeah.
No. It just tells us when he slept.
Got it. So even with a more complex phrase like, our car blew up down the street.
The action is blew up. it's intransitive, it happened to the car. Down the street is just a prepositional phrase telling us where. It describes the scene, but the focus of the action is still just the subject.
Now, here's where it gets a little tricky, I think. Many verbs aren't just one or the other, right? They can be both.
Yes, that's a fantastic point. We call them ambitransitive. The verb run is a perfect example.
Okay.
If I say, he runs quickly, runs is intransitive. The action stays with him, and quickly just describes how.
But if I say, he runs the company.
Now, runs is transitive. Suddenly, the company is a direct object, and it's receiving the action of being managed. The meaning of the verb itself has shifted.
So context is everything.
It is, and sometimes the object is just implied. If you say, the orchestra played, it sounds intransitive. But we all know they played music. The object is so obvious it's omitted. We'd still classify that as a functional intransitive use, though.
Yeah.
So we've covered action that transfers, that's transitive, and action that's contained, intransitive. Now we get to the third type, verbs that don't have any action at all.
Linking verbs. I find these fascinating because they're not about what the subject does, but what the subject is.
Or seems, or becomes.
Yes.
They're like structural bridges.
And their job is to link the subject to something called a subject complement.
That's the crucial distinction. Sentences with linking verbs do not have objects, they have complements.
So what exactly is a subject complement? What's its job?
It's basically an equal sign. It's a noun or an adjective that renames or describes the subject. The structure is just subject, linking verb, subject complement.
Okay, let's use the most common example. Eric is a doctor.
Perfect. Is the linking verb. It's not an action, it's just creating an equivalence. Eric, a doctor. A doctor renames Eric. It's not receiving an action.
That's clear for to be verbs like is, are, was. What are some other linking verbs we should look out for?
The other common ones are related to senses or states. Verbs like seem, feel, look, become, appear, taste, smell.
And this is where we have to be careful, right? Because a lot of those can also be action verbs.
Extremely careful. It all comes down to usage. Let's take the verb smell.
Okay, if I say the flowers smell sweet.
Smell is linking. Sweet is an adjective, a subject complement, describing the condition of the flowers. The flowers are in a sweet state.
But if I change it to she smells the flower.
The whole structure shifts. Now smells is the transitive, she is performing an action, and the flowers are the direct object receiving that action.
So you can't just memorize a list of linking verbs. You have to analyze how it's working in that specific sentence.
That is the ultimate takeaway. You have to ask, is the word after the verb describing the subject? If yes, it's linking. Is it receiving an action from the subject? If yes, it's transitive.
Okay, one more. He seems happy.
Happy is the subject complement. It's an adjective describing his state. You couldn't replace it with an object. He seems the refrigerator makes no sense. The test proves it's a linking structure.
That really gives us a complete picture. We've moved way beyond the limits of just SVO. The architecture of the sentence really is all about the verb's job.
Exactly. And if we synthesize this, you now have 3 powerful tests to apply to any sentence.
Okay, let's review them. First, transitive verbs, they transfer action.
And if they transfer action, they absolutely require a direct object and sometimes an indirect object.
Second, intransitive verbs, the action is self-contained.
Which means no object is needed. Any words that follow are just modifiers, telling you when, where, or how, not receivers.
And that includes those tricky ambitransitive verbs that change their meaning.
Right. And finally, linking verbs.
No action at all, they just establish a state of being.
Connecting the subject to its subject complement, which is either a noun that renames it or an adjective that describes it.
So mastering these 3 functions is really the key.
It is. It's the ultimate shortcut to building precise, grammatically sound sentences. You move from just following the rule to understanding the logic underneath. If you ask yourself, is this verb designed to transfer, contain, or link? You will always build the right kind of sentence.
Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon because this is how you'll get the notification immediately. See you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.